Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 137 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And before we get to this week's guest, Chris Daughtry, I want to remind you about all of the new gear you can get in the online shop at mistresscarrie.com. Of course, you'll find the hoodies, the beanies, and the t-shirts, plus the coffee mugs, the pint glasses, stickers, and more. But you can also check out the fitted caps, trucker hats, visors, the 7-in-1 bartender tool, and the clear plastic Mistress Carrie concert and event bag that meets most, if not all, of the bag requirements at different concert and sporting event venues. You can check out all that and more. Just log on to mistresscarrie.com and head to the shop. My guest this week, Chris Daughtry from the band Daughtry, has been on the show before. He joined me on episode 52 back on June 2nd of 2021. And Chris and I have been through a lot since then. Most recently, Chris and the band Daughtry collaborating with Lzzy Hale from Hailstorm on a brand new cover of Journey's Separate Ways, Worlds Apart. So Chris and I thought we should sit down and talk about this brand new cover and all of the things that have happened since he was on the show the first time. We talked about collaborating with Lzzy, getting inspiration to cover Journey from Stranger Things. We talked about the tight pants of rock stars in the 70s and taking care of your voice. We also talked about dealing with our mutual grief and the band's upcoming plans for new music. I'm so excited to have Chris back on the show. So once again, allow me to introduce you to Chris Daughtry.
Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
What's up, Mr. Daughtry? I hope that's coffee. Cheers.
It is coffee. Mm-hmm. If I could have it just shot in my veins lately, I would.
You and me both.
Oh.
I think we talked about that the last time you and I talked. We were like drinking coffee all afternoon.
Yeah, it's a real problem.
Are the purple lights you installed in your home studio an homage to me and all my purpleness?
100%.
I know. I know you're lying, but I appreciate that. Are those the changeable
it's honestly
ones?
my favorite. It really is my favorite color. It's like a light board that I borrowed from someone for something a while back for like an acoustic live stream, and I never gave it back to them.
I hope they're not listening to this episode of the show because they're going to be like, that's where those friggin' lights went.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Freaking Daughtry, he's a kleptomaniac.
What can I say?
Wait, are your nails purple too?
They were, but they're blue today.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to do mine black all the time because when I dye my hair, whatever I do, it stains everything anyway.
I went hard on purple for like 6 months, and I thought this was going to look different than it did, and I was like, that is really freaking blue. So,
is that what you do when you shave your head? You got to color your nails or something?
I started doing it like a couple years ago, and it's kind of become one of my favorite things. Like, me and my wife will go get our nails done, even on tour. Like, if on days off, I'll go find the nearest nail salon and go get my mani-pedi, and it's like, whatever. That's me treating myself.
I worked with one of the enforcers from the Bruins for years at WAF, and he said that professional hockey players go and get manicures all the time because when they go to grab the jerseys, if they got a hangnail, they can hurt their hands. So I just have this image of like all these giant hockey players with missing teeth sitting there soaking their hands.
Just looking like
yeah.
Bougie AF.
I mean, you could always grow your beard a little longer and dye it like Dimebag. That could be cool too.
Yeah, I could.
How are you holding up? Happy New Year.
It is, I am great. Thank you for asking. Hope you are. And it is, the year is starting off great. It's, I couldn't be happier. Life is good. And, I wish the weather was better, but, I'll take what I can get.
You are one of those unfortunate souls that has to celebrate your birthday around the holidays, which I talk a lot about. So happy birthday in case everybody forgot to wish you a happy birthday. Thank
you. Jared Leto and I both share the same birthday. So somehow, because of Instagram, I always feel loved every year, probably more so than I ever did as a child.
Well, I talk about it all the time on my show because I'm always talking about whose birthday it is. And it seems that there are certain birthdays and certain times of the year where like there are just these massive lists of artists that are born on the same day. I wonder if there's something, with the people that share your birthday, if there's some kind of weird thing about it.
Well, everyone that I know that has my birthday or around that time are all very creative people, whether they are musicians or painters. They're an artist of some kind, and there has to be something to that. Yeah.
I know my birthday and the people right around it are all people whose parents got drunk and had sex on New Year's.
Oh, perfect.
Because I'm born, I was born a couple days late, and I was born the 1st of October. So if you counted back, and that was my theory. And then my mom got drunk on champagne one year and told me that theory was true. And I was and it is scarred for life.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear how they were conceived.
No. And I never got to get that story from my mom. So I wish I could go back and ask.
Yeah.
Although I think I was a mistake.
I was too. I don't think a lot of people were conceived on purpose, even if they're told that.
I've gone through photo albums and I've seen a picture of my dad the day, which was on Christmas Day, which is the day before I was born, and he did not look stoked. So I and every picture I saw around that time, he just had this oh God, what did I do? And I'm just like, something tells me they weren't stoked I was coming.
Surprise!
Yep, here I am.
Greatest gift ever.
Yep, you're welcome.
Well, you get the 1, 2, 3 thing where you kind of get through Christmas and then bang your birthday and then New Year's. So as we go into this new year, it's kind of, New Year's for a lot of people is that whole rebirth, fresh start kind of thing. And you're like, I'm just going to release a cover of one of the most iconic rock bands of all time with one of the most powerful singers in rock and roll singing with me. Like, that's kind of a huge way to start the year.
It really is. And I had no idea when we decided to do this cover that it was coming up on the 40th anniversary of the original song. So it like all the stars aligned. It all just fell into place, like better than I could have ever planned it. And Lzzy and I had been talking about for years, working on something. Like we gotta work on something. We toured together back in 2013, and I was just like, there's a few singers out there that make me jealous of what they're able to do with their voice, and she is at the top of the list. And I remember the first time we go back so far. We met when I was going into the studio to work on my second record, and they were working on their first record with Howard Benson. And I found this photo like recently. We were just like kids, and it was so crazy. I was like, oh my God, we really go back a long ways. And she's always just blown me away with her talent and not only that, but she's just, she's just an incredible human being.
Yeah, she's
and I love
so
her to
nice
death.
and sweet, but at the same time, she's got that great kind of Northeast don't give a fuck vibe, which I am so here for.
She has none of these. Look at that. I got a jar of fucks to give. Do you have this?
Are you kidding me right now?
Did we just become best friends?
Do you want to go in the garage and do karate? Yes.
Oh, your jar is much bigger than mine.
Somebody sent me a jar of fucks, and I keep it right here in my studio. The fact that you have one too is so amazing.
My wife's sister sent me this for my birthday.
Wait, hold on. Brockton D's sister?
Brockton D's sister.
Yeah.
Stephanie sent me that, and I was like, "You're just the best." Like she always gives me the best gifts, and they're always something with the word "fuck" in it too. It's always
Did you see my mug?
I love it.
You understand because you married into all this.
Oh my God! Have you seen this movie called The Menu?
No, not yet, but it's in my queue.
Okay, well, I don't want to spoil anything because there's a moment that you're going to appreciate. And my wife, we watched it last night, and we both looked at each other like, "What did she just say?" But knowing the connection to Brockton, you're going to be pumped. But the movie is jaw dropping.
I heard it was really, really good.
I'll say nothing more about it because I don't want to overhype it. But yeah, so Lzzy and I had been talking for a while, and I hit her up, and I was like, me and the guys have been talking about doing a cover, but we just didn't know what. And we kicked around some 80s covers that we were just like, that could be cool, or maybe that could be cool. That might be cheesy. And I was watching Stranger Things, the finale of that, and there was this sick scene where everybody's getting ready to go do the thing, right? I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's not seen it.
If you haven't seen it by now, it's like, come on.
Then what the hell have you been doing with your life?
Seriously, it's not a spoiler alert anymore.
Anyway, so they're getting ready to go take on Vecna, and the synths start, and I was like, this is the song we need to cover. Holy shit, this is like, Steve Perry is one of the greatest vocalists of all time.
All time.
And I've always been a big Journey fan. But that's always been my favorite Journey song, and it already has a heavy vibe to it anyway. And so I was like, let's do that. And Scott Stevens, our producer, we were talking about like, what if we approach this as a duet? Like, I know it's not a duet, but what if we did? And it's got a double perspective here. And I was like, yes, let's call Lzzy. And because we've been talking about it forever, and like, this is it. So I hit Lzzy up. I was like, what do you think about doing Separate Ways? And she's like, it's my go-to karaoke song. I'm all in.
Oh.
And we both live in Nashville, so it just worked out perfectly. And just watching her in the studio, I'm like, seriously, would you stop?
Yeah.
Like, you're too good.
She sings from her kneecaps. Like, it comes out of her body.
Yes. And it's ferocious. Like,
yeah.
Some people, like, I would always hear these stories like Chris Cornell would hit these notes, but he wasn't very loud. It was very controlled, but it didn't sound as loud in person as it does on record. She's as loud, if not louder. Like, it is like, how does that come out of you? And I know I have a loud voice, but I don't know what she's got going on in here different than everybody else. But
there's somebody like Billie Eilish, right? Whose art is all about the subtlety.
Yeah,
it's all about the quiet and the emotion that comes out of it. Lizzy's just like, I'm gonna get a can opener. Here's the whoop ass. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yes. And it's not like, oh, I just kicked a few asses. I think I'm tired. It just keeps kicking. Like, it stays there and it just kicks everyone. And so I'm like, thank you for saying yes to doing this, because this is like, there is nobody else I would want to do this with. And So yeah, and then I found out it was the 40th anniversary. So we're like, can we get this out in time? And I mean, it was literally like a week before. It was like 2 weeks before it was just getting mastered. So we were really scrambling to try to make that deadline, and we could not be happier the way it turned out. And everybody's like, the response has just been overwhelming. My head has exploded, the amount of phone calls and texts that I've gotten the last few days, because we didn't even tease it. We just go, oh, by the way, here.
Yeah.
And God, I'm just grateful that people love it.
Well, this year that song turned 40. The band turns 50.
Unreal.
And it's one of those things when you go back, like you were saying about making it a duet, it makes sense lyrically.
Yeah.
For there to be that other perspective. And the fact that we're still analyzing the intent of the lyrics 40 years later, if that doesn't prove what a brilliant song it is, I don't know what does.
Incredible. It's much better than the music video was.
Come on, man. They were using what they had at the time.
Everybody was doing what they could, right? The best there's a video out there if you haven't checked it out. My bass player Marty O'Brien.
Oh yeah, he's another local guy.
He turned me on to we were watching this on the bus one night, and he's like, "Have you seen the one with no audio? You got to see it, where it's just someone." We were in tears and like, oh my God, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen. But yeah, like I can't even imagine what it was like to try to make a music video back then.
I go back and look at some of those old videos. I was just watching an old video of Bon Scott and Angus in like 79. And, you go back and look at those old Zeppelin videos. I'm not a guy, so I'm going to ask your expert opinion here. How do you function with pants that tight when you're a guy? Because they didn't have the technology of that stretchy material with a little bit of give. That was just denim, and those were
That was just raw denim.
Yeah.
And there's no underwear under there because you don't see any seam lines.
There's no room for the underwear.
Maybe it was their secret to those high notes. Maybe they're onto something.
Those were tight jeans.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that other than they had to just be dying to get off stage just to release after and be like, oh, thank God, everything can breathe now.
I know, were those guys just sitting around either nude or in loose sweatpants after because they needed everything to go back to its shape?
Just a towel. Just let it all go back to its... Yeah, it's like those... it's like a sponge. It's got to stretch back out.
Maybe that was Steve Perry's... Like, that was part of how he was able to just sing like an angel and hit those rock notes. It's just... The pants were so tight.
I gotta say, it was pretty impressive to look at. It's like, you know what? You guys are all packing either that or you're really padding the scenery there. But
they got the chicks somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard all the stories. Well, not all of them, obviously.
I had a great conversation with Josh Todd from Buckcherry a while back, like right around the start of the pandemic. And he has got like this insane vocal warm up that he does. If you've ever played shows with Buckcherry, you can hear Josh warming up down the hall.
Jason, yeah.
And he talked to me about Steve Perry and something he noticed from watching old Journey concerts that I never picked up on because Josh is very particular about vocal warm ups and stuff.
Okay.
And he said that he doesn't even drink water on stage anymore, no matter the temperature, because he wants his vocal cords to just be lubricated naturally, warmed up properly, and that's it. And he said he learned that from analyzing Steve Perry performance videos. He goes, if you go back and watch Steve Perry live, he never drinks anything on stage.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I never noticed it. And after I talked to Josh Todd, because he talked to me about it, I went back and watched these old Journey videos. And I was hard-pressed to find a video of Journey on stage in their heyday with him drinking anything, water, booze, like nothing.
Yeah. That's interesting. And I'm always like, running back to the drum. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should just. I mean, that's an interesting concept.
You're going to have to talk to Josh Todd about it because obviously with the voice I have, we both can agree I'm not a singer. But for someone that does sing, I talk to singers all the time about taking care of their voice, warming it up properly, warming it down properly. You know, guys like Miles Kennedy that don't want to do interviews the day of shows because talking is so detrimental.
I hate doing interviews on show days for the same reason, because my speaking voice is way harsher on my voice than my singing voice. And it's interesting that you said that, because I've had days where I'm like, I'm just pounding water and it's not changing. Because I don't know if it does.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has anything to do with it.
And as the person that's always asking for the interviews, I would always get bummed out and start to like feel self-conscious when you guys come to town and I want to sit down and talk to you and you get told no. And I'd be like, do they not want to talk to me? Like what it is? And then when obviously COVID happened and I was able to start having these longer conversations with you guys, I never really put it together how taxing on a singing voice that all the talking would be leading up. And now I'm like, I totally get it now, which is why I try to do the interviews on your days off.
Yeah. And when I've done like radio visits and there's a Q&A portion and then there's a performance portion, I always request, like if there's a way, I would love to perform first and then do the Q&A, because if I just talk up to the point of singing, my range just goes woo, and it becomes a struggle. And then there's people that it doesn't matter what they do, they're always on.
I know.
David Draymond gave me the funniest story. And I don't think I'm speaking out of school here, because I think he's actually probably told this in an interview before. But we were talking about warming up, and he's like, I got to warm up. I'm like, yeah, so do I. I know there's certain people that just never warm up and they're fine. And he said, I met Ronnie James Dio once. And he had a glass of Jack or wine, and he had a cigarette in the other hand. And he said, what do you do, for your warm up? And he goes, listen, if you got to warm up, then you just don't have it.
Whoa!
And he said, in that moment, I immediately shrunk down to his height.
Arguably one of the greatest vocalists in rock history ever.
I mean, seriously. But he said he just never warmed up. And that was not even a joke. Like he had his drink, he had his smoke, and he would go out and just fucking kill it. And I don't understand what mechanics they have going on different than say me or people that have to warm up. But it's very, I'm very envious.
Did you watch that documentary?
I have not.
Oh, so I talked to
What's it called?
It's called Dio Dreamers Never Die.
Okay, I'll have to check this out.
And I talked to Geezer Butler about it because
I actually think Marty was telling us that you got to check this out. So I gotta.
I'll tell you, it's fascinating because it's about his whole life. So it's not just about like the later metal Dio years or whatever. It goes all the way back. I learned a lot about him, but it obviously goes all the way to the end. And I had visited when I go to Hollywood or LA for work or whatever, I always try to go to those, the forever cemeteries and kind of go and see all of like my heroes. Last time I was there, I went and saw Chris Cornell and I went to Dio's grave, which is just everything you would want it to be. It's just big. It's got devil horns on the planters. It's got this big painting. Right across the way, Dio and Lemmy face each other at the cemetery for life.
Oh, wow.
Lemmy was cremated and is put in a wall that's like across the courtyard from Dio. So knowing that those two are kind of spending eternity in the same kind of vibe is pretty cool.
So cool.
But the documentary really goes into like his voice and where it came from. And the fact that now you're telling me that he didn't warm up. I'm just like, how? Talk about singing from your kneecaps. He wasn't a big guy, but the voice came from.
Yeah, and the range was just stupid.
Yeah, just insane.
Yeah, we've all been trying to do it since.
Yeah, I think without a seance and without him literally taking over your body, it might be a tough sell.
Yeah, absolutely.
So does this cover now trigger a new release? Because when you and I talked last, I had to go back and look it up. We talked right before the last record came out. You were all excited to release the record, and we're still in the middle of COVID and all of that.
Yeah.
And so obviously the world has been the world since you and I talked last. So is this cover ushering in a new project for Daughtry? What's going on?
That is the goal. We are about to, obviously life has been happening the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And there's plenty to write about. And my phone is just full of just, melodies and gibberish ideas, like hundreds of them. And I'm just kind of collecting ideas at this point. And we're going to be getting back in the studio, I want to say February. Because I'm in that place now where it's like I'm on the other side of loss and grief, and obviously life is, some days are easier than others, but there's plenty to write about, and I feel like I'm in a place now where I can write about it in a way that doesn't make me want to slit my own wrists. You know what I mean? Like, where I feel like, in the moment, if I would have just been like throwing myself into the studio, it would have just been the most depressing thing ever. But I'm in a place now where I feel like I have a lot to say and a lot to write about, and hopefully come at it from a standpoint that can help others that may be going through. Because look, let's face it, nobody is impervious to the bullshit that this universe throws at us. Like, we all have our own version of whatever that is, and it's what we do with it and how we come on the other, how do we rise up on the other side of it. And I feel like I have a perspective now that I may be able to give people some sort of hope that they're not alone, and that may be going through either what my daughter went through, or have or know someone that's going through that, or if they just lost a loved one, like I lost my mom a week before I lost my daughter. I mean, we all go through those defining moments in life at one point or another. And I definitely feel like that is going to be the fuel for this record in a big way. And I do think I'm ready to talk about it and write about it. And Scott Stevens, our producer, we've been discussing, the sound of this next record. And I think this version of Separate Ways is certainly the catalyst for that. And we're very excited to get back out. With that being said, we also have a UK tour coming up in March, and some Canadian dates coming for Dearly Beloved. So that will be the last, kind of the final goodbye for that record and send off and going into the next one. So we are about to work on something new, and we're very excited about it. And I think, if the response that we got on the last record was so overwhelmingly positive, we're going to go even harder on this one, and we're very pumped.
I went back and listened to the last time you and I talked in preparation for sitting down with you today, and that interview came out in June of 2021. And you and I spent a shocking amount of time talking about, obviously, the lockdown and spending so much quality time with family and what family meant. And we also spent a lot of time talking about Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
And looking back at that conversation and how different the world is now, and I'll just tell you that when you talk about immense grief, especially mom-related, 2022 was not a fantastic year for me either.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Lost my dad with a lot of unresolved, kind of didn't get a chance to make amends kind of things, which was hard. And my mom, who's still with us, but Alzheimer's really got its grips into her last year. And so even though she's still here, she's not.
I had that in my family as well,
It's
my grandmother,
worst.
and
it's the worst.
it kind of started feeling like that was possibly creeping in on my own mom. So,
and
I
obviously
understand
2022 was not kind for your family as well, basically alluding
Right.
to what you are. And first of all, let me offer my condolences because,
Oh, thank you.
It's one of those things where you don't know if I should bring it up because I know that you're trying to heal, but at the same time, you were so public about talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, after going through everything that I went through last year, what my family, my friends, and what the rock community as a whole offered to me because I was public talking about things with my mom and my dad. Can you talk to me about what the fans did for you because you were so public talking about everything that you were going through?
Oh man, the support was overwhelming. It was, and I think, there was a part of me that wanted to kind of deal with it in isolation, but I also knew that that wasn't going to be very healthy for me. So, I did take that step back from, the social medias and the interviews and everything, because there was a moment where I just felt like no matter what, who I was talking to or if I was performing, that I was going to have to put on a face, and that just didn't feel genuine. And so by allowing myself to go through the roller coaster of emotions with my family, and I was never alone. We were always, holding tight to each other, and we all went through it, and we all embraced it. And, as some days are still easier than others.
Yep.
And also I understand that unresolved thing more than and there's days where I feel just immense amounts of guilt when I remember moments and remember things, and I go, God damn, like, what if I would have said this? What if I would have done this? And it would have changed probably nothing, but I can't do anything about that. And that's the thing that hurts. I can't go back and resolve this moment, or I can't, and I think that having that support system at home was just paramount for the healing, and not hiding it from our kids, and like, hey, Dad is very sad right now, and we lost your sister, and or your grandmother, and I'm struggling right now, and allowing them to kind of see that, and not really, oh, everything's fine. I wanted my kids to really get a real look at how we process pain, and how we in a healthy way.
It's necessary. It's part of life that you're not going to avoid it.
No, and so. And then once we got back out on the road, just the overwhelming love and support from the fans. And you know what? I gotta say, my fans were so emotionally mature about it. They didn't just, hold up signs and shout out stuff from the crowd, because that would have just been like, okay, I can't. Like, we all know it was a very unspoken thing. We all know what I'm going through right now. I feel you, you feel me. We don't have to make a thing out of it. And then her birthday came, and I was on the road, and we were performing in Louisville, Kentucky. And that day hit me harder than a box of bricks. And it was just like, holy shit, tonight is going to be a tough one. And I knew it going in, and I just, I told the crowd in the middle of the show, like, just so y'all know, I need you right now. I'm struggling, and I'm going to do this song for Hannah. Today would have been her 25th birthday. And I've never really broke down on stage. I've never really shown that. And I could not, it's like, it just I crumbled in the middle, just performing, and stopped in the middle of it and walked off stage. My tour manager grabbed me, my band, and it was such an but it was a healing moment. It wasn't anything where I'm like, oh, I can't, and I felt held by the crowd. I felt supported, and it was a very cathartic moment that I'll never forget. And I think the takeaway is just allowing yourself to go through it, just allowing it. Like if now is hard, it's okay. If I don't want to talk to people, that's okay too. And the fact that I'm not okay, that's okay. And just not hiding that, because I think for me, if I would have just tried to press it all down and put on a strong face, then I would have never had that element of healing take place. And so that's been I think that one of the things that it taught me is just vulnerability and allowing myself to feel every emotion as they come.
Going through this set of holidays, especially with my mom still on the planet, but obviously not able to participate in holiday family traditions the way that she normally would have.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the idea of like the reconciliation I always thought was going to come with my dad that never did, that like this set of holidays, I was like, oh my God, this is weird. And I had thought long and hard about talking about it and being public about it, like you're saying, because you also don't want people to think that you're trying to get sympathy or you're trying, like, it's just how you are that day. And I was shocked, obviously not on stage singing like you, but talking about it on my shows and the feedback that I get from people that have gone through it. You know, you talk about second guessing decisions, and to have people say like, I took care of a loved one that slowly slipped away with Alzheimer's as well. And like, you know, you're going to question whether you made the right decisions or not. And you're not making wrong decisions. There aren't any right ones, but you're not making wrong ones. To have that support from people that would otherwise be complete strangers was amazing and crazy weird at the same time, but wonderful.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've just learned in life and in my 40s, that whatever you're going through, the moment you speak that out and you hear yourself say it to someone, and I hope that everyone out there has someone in their life that they can just say anything to, because that's an invaluable gift when you have someone that you can just say all the bullshit you're going through without any judgment. There's something that happens in our brain. There's this neurochemistry that changes instantaneously. All of a sudden you're not alone. All of a sudden it's not something that you're hiding or masking, and you instantly feel like you can breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
And that you're not stifled by the pressure that you're kind of, you're trying to hold yourself together in your own skin, you know?
And it happens so often through lyrics, through songs, that that even if the song wasn't written about what you think it was written about, that somehow if you find a song that connects to how you're feeling, you make that song your own, and then you're not alone anymore, even if it's through music, which is crazy.
Absolutely. Me and my wife were just talking about this the other night, how sometimes I don't want to know the meaning of the song, because something that you think is so deep and so meaningful to you all of a sudden is completely diminished, and you're like, it's about what? This song sucks.
You ruined it for me.
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the beauty of a lyric can speak to you in a way that it only speaks to you until you know exactly what it's about, and then it's like, I wish you wouldn't have told me that. And then there's times where, it's very clear what the song is about, and that's okay too. But that's the beauty of music. I think it's such a healing. And I don't know what I don't know if I would have, gotten through it without that outlet and that, when I finally felt that I was able to tour again and be out there, then it was for them. Then it was like, like I would talk to my mom and Hannah every night before going on stage, and still do. And it's, I know they're there, and those two were like my biggest fans, like separately, like both of them were so into what I did. And I feel that, even after their passing, that they're there, and that it's kind of like I carry them out on stage with me every night.
It's another reason why I'm so envious of the craft that you have, that to be able to write songs and play music, because you have that cathartic emotional outlet for you. Whereas for me, I've tried to write songs, Chris. It just doesn't work.
Well, guess what? Sometimes it doesn't work for me either.
Before I let you go, something happened the other day with some guys that I know you're close friends with, and I wanted to get your take on it. Mark Tremonti challenged John Connolly for his organization to run the Boston Marathon.
Yes.
Being here and having run it myself, I didn't know if you had any words of caution, warning, or just are you freaking nuts to give to John Connolly as he embarks on this training of the world's most arduous and famous marathon?
Well, John is a very physical dude anyway.
Yeah, he's a machine.
And he's I think he's going to kill it. And I already know he's already into fitness anyway, but he's probably really turning it on now and dialing it in. When is that, by the way?
Yeah, it's in April.
Oh, so he doesn't have long.
Yeah, they just made the announcement, and see, obviously I put the call in and I'm like, I need to talk to him because I ran it in 2019.
And how many miles is it?
26.2. But the course is a bitch.
Yeah.
It's not just flat, it's not on a treadmill, climate controlled with no hills. Like it's a disaster. And New England in April, like you just don't know what you're going to get. It could be 80, it could be 20 below. Like you just don't know. Yep. And it took me
especially now, it's like we don't know what we're going to get any given. It was 0 degrees here in Nashville just 2 weeks ago.
It's been colder in Nashville than Boston.
Yeah, we know. We were in Utah on a ski trip, and everything is just covered in snow. And it was still nothing like when we got back home, and that we're like, what the fuck is going on here?
And people up here are watching the news. And like people in Nashville and Georgia and whatever that like, they don't know what to do. And they're looking for all these hacks. Like, how do I keep my pipes from freezing? And we're all sitting up here and we're like, aren't we the ones you guys are always making fun of for living in the cold on purpose?
Yeah. Yeah. It's sunny here in Nashville, but it's cold. And I just talked to Penfield and it's obviously pouring in LA. I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah. I don't know. But if you want to make a war...
But as far as John, good luck to him. I mean, he didn't even hesitate. It's like, there was other things you could have done. You chose that.
I know. I ran it in 6 hours, 24 minutes, and 50 seconds. Like, wanted to die the whole time.
Did you throw up?
No, I didn't throw up. I was more worried I was going to shit my pants, to be perfectly honest. Because that's happened here famously. Like...
Well, yeah.
And you're on TV, like in front of millions of people, and you pooped your pants at mile 19. What are you going to do? Stop? Like, you just got to keep going.
Yeah, I fell in the mud. And
I had a fundraiser and a live broadcast waiting for me at the finish. So it was like, I didn't have a choice. I couldn't quit. I was expecting to like crawl across the finish line. I have all those photos you get at the finish line, and I'm like bawling my eyes out in the Kim Kardashian ugly cry. because I couldn't believe growing up here that I actually finished the thing.
Yeah.
And what's going to piss me off is that Mr. Connolly is probably going to be able to run it twice in the time it took me to run it once.
Oh man, well, best of luck to him, and that's an impressive task he's got ahead of him.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I look forward to whatever is coming by the end of this year from you guys. You said that you've got, your tour dates in Canada and in Europe and stuff. What about U.S. dates? Because that's what everybody's going to say. Why didn't you ask him when he's coming back to here or wherever?
I feel like we exhausted. I feel like people got tired of us last year. So
you were so excited to be out of the house.
I think we there probably will be some. We don't have any that I can announce yet, just because they haven't been 100% confirmed. But there will be some U.S. stuff. But we really want to get this new record done, and so when we do really come back out in the U.S., that we're gonna have something more exciting to offer.
Well, you kicked it off with a bang with this amazing Journey cover with Lzzy. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. And it's so good to talk to you. Thank you
so nice
so much
to
for
see
the love and
you.
support. Always good to see you.
Cheers on a fantastic 2023. I know there's good things coming for both of us this year, so I look forward to hearing what's next with you guys. And I'm hoping that you and Lzzy are going to be able to play the song live a few times maybe this year.
Well, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? That would be great.
Yeah.
Why not? We should book a tour.
No water on stage.
And my condolences to you about your father.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know. It's been weird. It's the world feels. It was the loss of what could have been. I think that was the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have these ideas in your head about what could have been, and you kind of have to mourn that and the acceptance of what was.
Yeah.
That acceptance part on the stages of grief is a bitch.
That is a bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm still going through it.
Yep, me too.
So, well, much love to you, and hope to see you in person next time.
I look forward to it.
All right.
We'll talk soon.
See you.
Say what's up to Brockton B.
We'll see you.
Wicked Pissa.
That's right. Later.
Bye, honey. There he is, the one and only Chris Daughtry. So happy to have him back on the show. You can check out the show notes for this episode and find his first appearance on episode 52. You'll also find the link to this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that's filled with my guest music and all of the other music that we referenced in the interview. And it starts off with that fantastic Journey cover that he does with Lzzy. You'll also find all the links to find Chris Daughtry online and to find the band. And you'll find all of my links as well. And if you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday. Plus, every weekday, you get the sit rep. In 5 minutes, you get all of your rock news, music headlines, and industry info. Plus, you never know when we're going to release a bonus episode. You can find the Mistress Carrie podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts and get more details on that and everything else at mistresscarrie.com. That includes shopping in the online Mistress Carrie store and details on my video show, Cocktails in the War Room. You can join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern on my official Facebook page. The Mistress Carrie podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.